My name's Madeline, and today we'll be learning about media and moral panic. I'm currently based at the Kelvin Grove campus, but do this subject online. I hope you enjoy my presentation, and if there's any questions or queries, don't hesitate to ask on the discussion board. Thank you.
Viewers to be advised, some of this presentation has material that could be seen as sexually explicit content. If you are participating in this course and would like a version that is censored, please inform me through the discussion board and one will be sent. Today we will be investigating media and moral panic. I'll firstly define media and moral panic using dictionary definitions and then using Cohen's definition. I will then explain the 5 criteria that Thompson created and give examples using the Safe Schools campaign. We will then talk about implications for future teachers using Gordon Tate's Making Sense of Mass Education chapter called The Media. There will be a suggested activity that can be used when talking about the media and moral panics in the classroom. There will also be, during this professional development, 3 activities to participate in. Let's start with a definition of moral panic in the media from dictionary.com. Media is described as means of mass communication, for example, television, radio, and newspapers. Moral is described as the media principles of right and wrong. Panic is described as sudden uncontrollable fear or anxiety, often causing wildly unthinkable behaviour. In a quote taken from Cohen, 1980, media and moral panic is described as a condition, episode, person or group, or persons emerges to become defined as a threat to societal values and interests. Its nature is presented in a sterilized and stereotypical fashion by the mass media. The moral barricades are manned by editors, bishops, politicians, and other right-thinking people. Socially accredited experts pronounce their diagnosis and solutions. Ways of coping are evolved or more often resorted to. The condition submerges or deteriorates and becomes more visible. Sometimes the object of panic is quite novel, and other times it's something which has been in existence long enough, but suddenly appears in limelight. Sometimes panic passes over and is forgotten, except in folklore and collective memory. At other times, it has more serious and long-lasting repercussions. In simple terms, Cohen describes media and moral panic as something that is seen as a threat to society. This threat is then shown in the media in a clean, stereotypical fashion. Moral wars are controlled by people that the public sees as right-thinking people, such as politicians, bishops, etc. These people then create solutions to these problems until the solution once again rises in the media as another problem. Sometimes this panic can be forgotten, except in social situations, and sometimes this panic has long-lasting effects on society. Okay, for the first activity, I would like you to look at these questions and write down your answers in relation to the Safe School program. You don't have to share. Your answers will be used again at the end of this presentation. If you haven't yet heard of the Safe Schools program, I'll describe it as it has been posted on the Safe Schools website. It's a national coalition of organisations and schools working to create safe and inclusive environments for all students, staff and families, regardless of sexual orientation or gender preference. It is funded by the Australian Government and the Victorian Government. The statement from Cohen coincides with Thompson's 5 criteria for the operation and features of moral panics. I will start by going through a simple overview of the 5 criteria and then apply the criteria to the Safe Schools campaign. I have simplified Thompson's 5 criteria for the operation and features of moral panic. The first criteria of moral panics is it takes the form of campaigns which are sustained over a period of time. The second criteria is it appeals to people who are alarmed by this breakdown of social order. The third criteria is moral guidelines are unclear. The fourth criteria is politicians and others are eager to lead the campaign to take action to destroy the threat. The fifth criteria is the moral campaign leaves the real issue unaddressed. The first criteria for Thompson's 5 criteria of the operations and features of moral panics is take the form of campaigns which are sustained over a period of time. I couldn't find the exact starting point for the Safe Schools program, although I remember it being taught when I was in Year 4 as the Bullying No Way campaign. This program was only to prevent general bullying in schools. On June 13, 2014, Scott Ryan, then Parliamentary Secretary for Education, launched the program. However, this has only caused such an uproar due to Malcolm Turnbull reviewing the Safe School program as requested, due to people suggesting that it was trying to indoctrinate young children into a gay lifestyle. This led to the planning of the funding being cut in 2017. Number 2 of Thompson's 5 criteria for the operation and features of moral panics is that the moral panics appeal to people who are alarmed by this breakdown of social order, which leaves them in risk. This campaign has been hugely followed by the media, so large that there is a new article online every day about updates and discussions around this topic. The reason the campaign has such a large media following is due to a large number of people who are alarmed by this Safe Schools program, and they themselves see them as risks. If you are a taxpayer, have children, or are part of the lesbian, gay, bi, transgender community, also known as LGBT, attend a school either as a teacher or student, or are living in Australia, you may see yourself as being at risk. An example of this is you as a teacher. As a teacher, or as a future teacher, this is a program that will be implemented into schools, which could be seen as a big challenge to how we teach health in the classroom. You as a parent, this will be a program that will be run at your local school, which will affect your children. Or even you as a student, this will be run in your classroom, and you may be taught this. Number 3 of Thompson's 5 criteria for the operation and features of moral panics is that moral guidelines are unclear. It has been made unclear by the media what the agenda of the Safe Schools program actually is, with such articles from the media including Safe Schools promotes homosexual agenda, Safe Schools programs vehicles for pushing homosexual agenda into schools, Safe Schools education or indoctrination. Safe Schools program about the LGBT community, left agenda, not bullying. This sends public into questioning, what are these programs really about? This type of thing sends the media into hysteria. Parents start to think, my child is learning this at school? And taxpayers start to think, I'm paying for this to be implemented? Number 4 of Thompson's 5 criteria for the operation and features of moral panics is politicians and others are eager to lead the campaign to take action to destroy the threat. The Sunday Mail had an article called What Happened to the Safe Schools program? This article explains how the Christian lobby acting under the church and political influence has put a hold on the program being implemented. As mentioned before, this program is planned to have funding cut next year. An election on the rise also has politicians left, right and centre stating their views. Here is a video on which this is explained by politician, federal member for Dawson, George Christensen, during the review of Safe Schools program. The whole video is not shown, but it will be posted on the Blackboard site for you to view later, if needed.
When those parents consider just how unsafe this program is, they wonder why the federal government is allowing it to be implemented in schools, much less spending $8 million of taxpayer money to fund it. Some of the things that the Safe Schools Coalition Australia are recommending to school students include pornographic web content, sex shops, adult online communities and sex clubs. The Safe Schools All of Us teaching resource directs students to the LGBT organisation 2010. On the 19th of January this year, 2010 hosted a hands-on workshop for youth on sex toys and sadomasochistic practices. All of us also direct students to the website of the LGBT youth organisation Minus 18, which produced most of the Safe Schools resources. Minus 18 advises students on chest binding, penis tucking, sex toys and sex advice such as penis and vagina sex is not the only sex and certainly not the ultimate sex.
Here his point is, only the links that students are able to access during out-of-school hours while the Safe School program is implemented in a school, not actually what the classroom side of things entail. Thompson's fifth criteria for the operation and features of moral panics is that the moral campaign leaves the real issue unaddressed. The real issue that started the Safe Schools program is that students, family and staff of the LGBT communities at schools are left to be excluded from the curriculum and continued to be outcast by peers. Safe Schools has been around for a very long time, addressing general bullying issues as mentioned before. The reason Safe Schools linked up to the LGBT community was due to a study which showed that gay and lesbian teens are 2 to 3 times more likely to commit teen suicide than other youths. So what does this mean for me as a teacher? The media now runs like a business. It's hard to find a way to make money, and this has resulted in the line between media and entertainment to be erased. The other point is that now media is such a huge business. It is owned by powerful corporations. These corporations have their own agendas and political affirmations. This leads them to be able to lead the public in any way, shape or form that suits them. Gordon Tate goes on to explain that there's not very much that we can do to fix this problem. The best thing that we can do as future teachers is to educate ourselves and our students about how the media works. We can do this by recognizing its importance, but by equally understanding its weaknesses and identifying the areas where the expectations are not met. An activity to show your students media and moral panic could be as quick as a game of Chinese whispers for primary students.
Okay, we've got our people together now. We're about to do our huge Chinese whisper, and the Chinese whisper that I'm going to put out there is the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. Let's see what happens. Okay, we're ready with our Chinese whisper. Let's go. I want to hear what's been said. Okay, can you tell us what was said?
Tomatoes, 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 fridge.
Tomatoes, 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 fridge.
After playing this game, we could explain how the effects of what we are told in the media are twisted. As things get passed through different ears, the stories can change for people's perceptions or to take advantage of that person. You could then analyze articles to see how different stories are told and why that is. I would like you to think of any activities that you could use in the classroom to discuss media and moral panics with primary or early childhood students. Then post this on the discussion board on the Blackboard site. I'm looking forward to hearing your ideas. I would now like you to view this video about the actual implications of Safe Schools in Australia. I've cut it down to about 1 minute, but it is actually a 9-minute video that will be posted on the Blackboard site and is worth watching.
In Australia, 75% of LGBTI young people are bullied. 1 in 6 LGBTI young people have attempted suicide. 1 in 3 have self-harmed. Teachers Heather and Christian are determined to change that.
Okay, we're going to be talking about inclusiveness and diversity. Today I'm teaching one part of the Safe Schools program. It works by dividing students into 2 groups. This group, you're gay or lesbian. You guys, you're all straight. They have to imagine that they have a partner in that relationship, and then they're asked questions like, can they talk about their relationship with their family or their friends? Can they show affection towards their partner? Now I'm going to count backwards from 10. When I hit the number of yeses that you've got, I want you to sit down. So 10, 9, 8. Usually what happens is all the kids who are heterosexual are sitting down, and all the same-sex attracted kids are still standing up, or there's very few sitting down. 3, 2, 1. That shows very quickly that students who are same-sex attracted don't have those same rights in a relationship as those who are straight. It's a very powerful message to students.
It's amazing to see how many people wouldn't feel safe with a lesbian or gay partner. It's teaching us more about how they feel and making us understand that they need help coming out.
If we weren't learning about this at school, there'd be a lot more discrimination going on than there is now, and there's still plenty going on now.
I would like you now on a blank piece of paper to answer these questions. After you've done this, I would like you to review the first set of questions you answered. Have your views changed to the certain ways information was provided to you through the media articles? You may choose to answer this on Blackboard or keep it to yourself. It's just a good activity to realise how your views and your own perceptions can easily be changed by influence.